Yes, so I'm just humbled by the introduction, by my comrade and brother Chumorenga, because he is one of my teachers. I used to pick up the phone in London and see if every time I stuck, talk to Chumorenga, how do we solve this problem? The guy is another one too. So whatever I have to say, you have to recognize that is the result of African internationalism. That's the teaching of the chairman of Mali Stella. I want people to know that. We're going to talk about what's happening in Libya and also what's happening in the rest of North Africa, in the Middle East. The first thing I like about what's going on in North Africa, in the Middle East, is this notion of never, never, never. Things will always be the same. You try to educate, agitate, convince people, stop it, things will always be the same. You really think you can change it? But suddenly, the same people who spend years trying to organize, agitate, they come and tell you, things gonna change, which is true. Today, we spend a lot of time trying to win people to understand that the world is in crisis. And that's one thing I learned from the chairman when I saw him the first time in England, is the world is in crisis. And we've been saying it for many years, but now you don't even have to explain to somebody who doesn't understand politics that the world is in crisis. The person already knows. Life is too expensive. You've got wars everywhere. In any other way, you've got contradiction in all our life. So anyone who doesn't experience any contradiction must not be from this planet. Or even the ruling class. If the ruling class is shaky, because they see problems everywhere. Just the thing about the United States. They say they're going to solve the problems where? In Iraq. They didn't solve it. They go to Afghanistan. Without finishing when they start in Iraq, they've got two problems to solve in Afghanistan. They can't solve it. They go to Pakistan, they can't solve that one, so they've got another problem. So where's the hell problem? In Somalia, they have problems. So then they come to North Africa and they're opening another field. And if you're a scientist, solving any problems, but you're creating more problems, then first a scientist anyway, or your bad ones. Because what you need to do is solve the problems. When you solve it, then this is a correct solution because you don't have to do it again. But the United States is creating problems everywhere, which means it's creating enemies wherever they go. It doesn't mean if they try to use a different face of imperialism, but most of the people in the world can recognize imperialism. Even if he's a jazz singer or saxophonist player, or he's Obama, black skin, black face, but most people can recognize what imperialism is. So this is the kind of world we're living in. And North Africa just came at the right time, because a lot of people still treat North Africa as if it was not in Africa. They say Egypt, in the Middle East, but you look at the map of Africa, and you look at the Middle East, you see where Egypt is, or where Libya is, or Tunisia, that's quite far from the Middle East, So we want to just make it clear, Egypt is Africa. The soil, the water, the civilization, the fruits, everything there is Africa. And Egypt problem is African problem, and every African around the world should take Egypt as his problem or her problems. That's the reality. And what's happening in Egypt is also a response from the people to colonial conditions, because you may have people saying they're responding to Islam, they're responding to spirituality. No, they're responding to the hardship, to the life of $1 a day, to the police brutality. You heard about Mubarak. Mubarak was a murderer. They attack any demonstrations, any dissidents, they kill people, they torture people, they do all the nasty things to the people, and the people hated them, and with reason, and right so. And that was the Egypt. And the life was just so expensive. Most of the young people in Egypt can't see the future. They just can't see there's no future for them. So people are desperate. And if you go to Tunisia, it was the same thing. You have the man called Ben Ali. And in Tunisia, the young people cannot see the future. They're just desperate to leave Tunisia. Maybe, come to France, Italy, anywhere. That's how they saw it. So you have a rotten situation. And more than that, Egypt wasn't any place. Egypt was the ally, the main friends, the main ally of the Israeli settler colonial state, which means that Israel didn't have to think anymore that resistance or an attack will come against Israel from Egypt. They don't have to think about that because Egypt and Israel, they were like the same. They're all dependent on the United States for the military equipment. You know, Egypt receives something like $2 billion a year from the United States. And when the United States gives you $2 billion a year, it's not to go on holiday. It's to control the people, to harass and beat the people down, you know, and open out all the business you have, all the companies, all the land, all the resources to the United States government. So you have the military in the Egypt government controlling all the businesses. You go to multinational companies or companies that are nationalized, you will see the military everywhere. So one way to access the bourgeoisie or the petty bourgeoisie in Egypt is to go through the military. And that's why you can see the military have a lot to lose if there was any radical transformation, because they're not just the head of the state, but they are also the head of the businesses. So you go all two together, because that's one thing you heard on the television. The militaries are cool, they don't want anything. Now, the military with the guns, they're not cool. You know, they know how to use that stuff, and they use it against the people, because they know that the stakes are high, not just for the United States, but for themselves as a class that allows the imperialism, you know, to lose their place. And the people responded to that, to the colonial conditions. And the colonial conditions are not just in Egypt, they're here. It's St. Petersburg. So when you see the resistance of the people in St. Pete, is a response to the colonial conditions, where you have a foreign power controlling the resources, controlling the lives of the people, and where you have a state that is there to repress the people, not to move, not to change things, just leave the things as they are. Because anything you want to solve, you can only solve it at the expense of the colonizers, of the occupiers. And this is something the ruling class understand very well. Any change will happen that fashion. That's why you can hear the president of the United States, Hillary Clinton, all these people, they're saying we need a peaceful transition in Egypt, because they understand that any serious transition in Egypt has to be done against their interests, because the weaker have to be stronger, and they can only be stronger at the expense of those who are stronger standing upon them. So the situation in Egypt was really exciting. It brought a lot of people into political lives. It politicized a lot of people. I get calls like from my aunties who supposed to call me about politics, you know, but they want to know what's going on in Egypt. You can see the transformation. Everywhere you went, Egypt was in the news. So it did play a big role in opening up, you know, political discussions amongst the people. That's why we welcome any resistance coming from below, from the people. And when now you take Tunisia, you take Egypt, what happens is that anything Africans do or do, the rest of the oppressed people in the world tend to copy that, because there is an identity we recognize. We suffer the same conditions. So it doesn't matter if they are, you know, Muslim or Christians, but the masses recognize this condition you see in Egypt is the same we have in Yemen, we have other places. So the people responded. If they have the courage to stand up, then there is some kind of competition amongst the people. We don't be left behind. You know, we are not the cowards one. We are just as brave as you. So we're going to stand up to the oppression in this place as well, because this is our chance. And we had a situation throughout the Middle East where everybody is saying, it's time to stand up. We're going to stand up. You can do what you want to do. We're not backing down. You can kill as many you want to kill. We're not going away. And that determination has transformed the world today. The imperialist is aware of it, and the oppressed people around the world are aware of it. You go to places like Togo, Cameroon, like Burkina Faso, as we're talking now, there is a demonstration by the students there. And they drew inspiration from what they have seen in North Africa and the Middle East. And they're telling the government, we are not scared. Which means that the government probably is more scared, because you're going to attack people who are not scared at all. So what do you expect, you know, you're going to get? So it's a really exciting period in the world for us, the oppressed people, because most of us grew up reading books, watching films about the Panthers, listening to Malcolm X tapes, stuff like that. You wish you were there. Now, you don't have to wish you were there. You are right in it now. So you just have to find the right organization for you to play your role. And that's the exciting thing. Nobody's going to be sitting on the fence, being on the sideline. The situation is just right for everyone to be involved or to start something, because that's what everyone needs to do. So you have this situation developing, and we know all the time imperialists need to find a response to what's happening, because imperialists knows the masses of the world are on the rise, are on your face, they're coming. So they have to find a response. And one way they have done it is they have used the situation in Libya to take advantage of the aspirations for change, for democratic change in the head of the people, to create a situation that can work in their advantage. When you take Libya, you compare Libya to Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, all those places. Libya is better built in terms of infrastructures, in terms of healthcare facilities, even in terms of women's rights. Libya is advanced compared to all those places. In fact, you will see one of indication is that people don't leave Libya to go to other places, but people leave Egypt, Tunisia, Somalia, Congo, every other place to go to Libya, because that's a statement. In Libya, we're better off. So people come to Libya. So imperialism knows that, because I know the students from Libya were the envy of everybody else. They did not have to have 2 jobs. Just their, the grants, money was enough for them to study and have degrees and go back. They didn't stay in Europe. But students from any other country, Egypt, Nigeria, you name it, 2 or 3 jobs, always going to the embassies to see when the grant money is coming. So when it gets there, the ambassador puts the money in their pocket, stuff like that. Libya didn't have all that. They had always pocket money, stuff like that. So and you also know, in general, a lot of people who were in so-called opposition to different regimes around the world, in Africa in particular, went to Libya to get the money. Because they knew if you went to Libya and you can convince Gaddafi that you were about to do something where you're coming from, and Gaddafi always wants to be part of everything, he will give you money. It was well known. So you can say the resources were there, and Gaddafi was giving all this. And this also says something about the character of Gaddafi. Gaddafi came to power in '69 in a coup. And the regime that was in place was a monarchy led by a man called Idris. They refer to him as King Idris. And King Idris, we just learned when we were in the show with the chairman, he used our flag, as their flag, the red, black, and the green flag. They used that, and that's influence on Marcus Garvey, because at the time Garvey came to the scene, there was no independent state in Africa. So the flag that was designed, that was voted for in the convention of UNIA here, was the flag probably inspired the king of Libya. So the king of Libya basically was a puppet. From the time the oil was discovered in 1950s, 1951 I think, by a US company, he was the good Arab, the one who gives the oil for free almost, and does not ask questions, and does not build anything. And Libya was seen as a backward country, really backwards. No infrastructures, poverty, not developed at all, no built at all, and no united at all. The only thing that had a semblance of unity was the army, and Gaddafi was in the army. And as a young man, Gaddafi has been influenced by Nasser. Nasser was the president, the Arab nationalist in Egypt, and who took the decision, a courageous decision, to nationalize the Suez Canal in 1956. And because of that, the French and the British attacked him. And he has an aspiration to unify the Arab world, to stand up together against imperialism. So he inspired Gaddafi. And Gaddafi, with 2 other guys, led a coup against Idris in '69 and seized power. And that was the beginning, basically, of Gaddafi. And the first thing he did is to nationalize the oil, get the oil away from the multinationals. And you can see imperialism did not like it and didn't forget about it, because Gaddafi now has access to oil and start building the infrastructures of Libya. And he did, you can say, he did build, when you go to Libya, you see the airport, stuff like that, the roads, the man-made river, they took water from the desert, pumped out. and irrigate the place. So invest a lot of money to develop the place. Gaddafi, being what he was, what he is basically is a radical petit bourgeois force that is radicalized by what's going on in the world. He came to power when there was a rise of revolution, so he was radicalized by that. So he supported like the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. He supported ANC, but guess what? The ANC guy in the UN Security Council vote, he voted for the attack on Libya. But Libya supported the struggle in South Africa, so he funded the ANC. Libya, Gaddafi supported the struggle of the Irish nationalists against the British occupation. They support a lot of forces, the Palestine, the PLO, and other forces like that. And that was the radical side, the contribution of Gaddafi to the anti-imperialist movement. But Gaddafi, being a radical petit bourgeoisie, the petit bourgeoisie doesn't have his own philosophy. No. They take some from here, some from there, up there, down there, and mix it up and give it a new name and make it their own. So he came with a green book that was Gaddafi philosophy. And I already, it's a funny book, it's a book that goes all over the places, And as far as Gaddafi was concerned, that was his philosophy. But Gaddafi also was anti-communist. He was an anti-workers' late struggle. So you can see he's also Pan-Africanist. And one of the things that characterize Pan-Africanists, some of them, is that they're anti-communist, they're anti-workers' late struggle. And Gaddafi falls into that camp as well. So you have a situation where Gaddafi will support the right causes, Gaddafi also supports the wrong causes. For example, he supported the RUF, the organization that killed people in Sierra Leone. He funded them. So he will fund anything that is about anything. As long as Gaddafi is a part of it, he gets credit, and that's it. So that kind of person he was. And Gaddafi was, I keep saying was, Gaddafi is an anti-Zionist leader. He's against Israel colonial state. So this is something Gaddafi has been consistent throughout. And Israel knows it, the US knows it, the French, they all know it. He always stood against settler colonial state of Israel. So he's in support of whatever, is making struggle on the ground in Palestine. And we believe this also is one of the reasons it's being targeted. Because you'll read a lot of explanation saying that Gaddafi is being attacked because of the oil. Gaddafi is not a bigger player in the oil market. He's not Saudi Arabia, he's not Angola, he's not a bigger player. But we believe one of the things critical why the United States and France and all these governments are telling us on television they are concerned about Arab masses being massacred, when Arab masses are being massacred, true, in Saudi Arabia, we know that, it's been in the news, it's in YouTube. We know that Arab masses are being massacred in Bahrain, it's true, it's been documented. They've been massacred in Yemen, it's been documented. And even Tunisia, right in Tunisia, I watch the French program where the police is attacking the people all the time because a serious struggle taking place in Tunisia. It's not over yet, in Tunisia and Egypt. So they know all this. To say that they're concerned about the masses being attacked by Libya, by Gaddafi in Libya, differently, it's a political decision. It's not nothing to do with the pain, the suffering of the people. Just yesterday, on Saturday, the Israel jets, it's the US jets, the F-16, bombed Gaza, killed Palestinians. So you don't hear anything from the White House or from the Champs-Élysées in France and stuff like that. So the aggression of Gaddafi is more strategic than just the oil. And we believe it's to do with the balance of power. The balance of power, because the rise of all these struggles taking place work in favor of regimes like in Iran. The regime in Iran is going to benefit from the fall of influence of Mubarak and all these regimes there. Because as the masses move forward, it means that the neo-colonial regimes there have less space to maneuver, less space to give out the resources to imperialists, less space to carry out the agenda of imperialism, which leaves Iran and possibly Gaddafi as strong players in the region, and also people like Hamas that benefit from that. And also you got to bear in mind that the forces are in play in Emirates, Arabs, in Bahrain, even in Saudi Arabia, who are leading this struggle in opposition to those regimes, are Shia forces. And Shia forces are aligned to Iran because Iran is mostly Shia. So you can see the rise of Iran under the influence of those struggles. And this is the primary reason that forced the United States and other regimes in Europe to move against Libya, to make sure the shifting balance of power does not take place, because if it takes place, it can only take place against United States-led white imperialism. That's for sure, and they understand that very well. It has nothing to do with massacres or moral whatsoever, or feeling the pain of the people. You know, I don't have to tell you anything in this room about the United States of America. You know how he was born. You know how he behaved in Katrina. You know all these things. You know what he's doing in Haiti. You know what France has done in Haiti, continues doing in Haiti. You know France controls 85% of the currency of 14 African countries. So basically, for every 100 CFA of those 14 African countries, 85 stay in operational bank accounts in France, and France uses it as it wishes. Which means people always be poor in those 14 African countries, because everything they do, they sell cocoa, they sell gold, they must do all this through the French control, the French banks. They want to change the rates, the exchange rate of those currencies. They have to ask for France. France has the right of veto, basically, against all that. So there is no way they can say they're doing it because they are in love or concerned about the plight of the masses. It's a basically lie. And I think these are key points, that imperialism is constructed on lies. The press is a pack of lies. And the more you listen to the bourgeois news, the more you absorb the lies. And the less likely you will come to the right conclusions when it comes time for you to take the right conclusions. And this is an effort we have to really get people to understand that we have to turn our back on the price coming from imperialism. They cannot explain the realities because the reality is against what they're doing, and they cannot tell the truth because the truth is that the masses want to be free from imperialism. And that's why it's our duty, we believe, to defend Gaddafi, to defend the aggression of Libya by the United States, because we understand that Libya is part of Africa, and to attack Libya is to attack the potential, as the chairman often says, of the African working class to rise to power. Because when attacking to Cuba, when attacking Libya, they're attacking African working class. And most people don't say it because they think of colonial divisions. Libya here, Egypt here, but the African nation is from north to south, the whole of Africa. That's the African nation, that's the whole African nation. And Africa cannot be free if the whole Africa is not unified and united. And that unity is going to take place, and we have to engage the honest, genuine Arab revolutionaries, which who right now are struggling to understand what is the way out. And the way out has to be what we call the African Socialist International, because the new world has to be built. And that new world is going to depend on genuine revolutionaries around the world. And the ASI is the vanguard not only of the African revolution, but ASI also is the vanguard of that new trend that want to build a new world, which must be built. There is no alternative to that through revolutionary struggle. There is no other way, to get rid of imperialism around the world. And that new world will replace the UN, because the UN is not representative of poor people around the world. It's not. The UN is a tool of imperialist power to forward their agenda. Because how can you explain in the world that the UN can give the United States and the France? US is bombing Afghanistan as we're talking, Iraq and all those places. How can you give them another mandate just to do the same thing they've been doing all along for years? It just doesn't make sense. But they got the mandate. Why? They give it to themselves. It's that simple. They can say anything on the TV, but we know they give it to themselves. That's how it is. So the UN has to be replaced. We need a new structure, a new world order that's going to be based on a genuine unity of revolutionary forces, and the ASI is a critical force. Because a lot of people will think of the ASI and say, oh, where is it based? How big you are? But you've got to see the quality of what is new in a world that is dying, because the hope, the future is always in what is new against what is dying. There is no doubt that imperialist order is dying. People might not see it, but the United States cannot win any war anywhere, because all these wars are unjust wars, and we already know now, every time the US goes to war, it just breeds more resistance. That is definitely a law of history, and we should expect more resistance in Libya, and no less. And that resistance in Libya is critical, because we believe that all the resistance that we've seen from Egypt, Tunisia, Afghanistan, all those places, they have an impact on how the people's brains work. People are coming to conclusions based on all these experiences. It's not that Afghanistan is new and people don't know about it, but the people in Libya, they are rich of the experiences in all those places. They know Pakistan, they know Somalia, they know Congo, they know Afghanistan, they know Iraq, they know Yemen. So they will come to conclusions different, that we really have to achieve power over the imperialists. And that's what the ASI, we have to work really hard to get this worldview to Gaddafi, to Libya, to any genuine forces, that ASI is a way forward. So somebody who speaks Arabic, you should be in touch with Binga, So we're going to get the chairman and staff translated or subtitles in Arabic. Seriously. Because if you want to build a better world, free from imperialism, you have to come to the ASI, because this is the leading philosophy, not just the leading philosophy in the worldview, but the leading resistance against imperialism that is informed with science, and also is located where? In the belly of the beast. And we really want people to understand this. This is critical. That's why the new struggle, as being defined, every front has to have an African plan, an African solution, universal African domain. You could be in Libya, you could be in Egypt, you could be in South Africa, but one thing we all must have on the agenda is the question of the African incarceration, imprisonment in the United States. That should not be an African-based US issue only. It should be an issue of all African revolution. That's ASI work. The question of Haiti should not be just the African and Haiti issue. France and the United States must return all the money they stolen, and the money that's collected about the earthquake, stuff like that. That should be on the agenda for every African front. So we need to build things like that. The genocide in the Congo is happening right now. It should be in universal domain. And this is the way the ASI basically is redefining what is the struggle today. Because those who are in the past, lagging behind, they're still talking about democracy as if they go to vote and choose between 2 or 3, 4 candidates. And you talk to a lot of people, that's what they see as democracy. But these outdated, these miles, light years behind, so they have to drop all these and join the real philosophy that explains the tasks of today, which is how you make the international revolution in different front in unity with what's happening around the world, everywhere against imperialism. These are the few things I want to say. I know there are a lot of things that can be said, but interaction, that's what I want to say. So I just thank you for being here. And as always, I'm glad to be in this city of resistance, in this headquarters of African revolution.